meeting. Yeah. Okay. I think we better start now. Others will catch up later or they'll view the video. So I'll be discussing, please, if you can't hear me at any time in the meeting, you can unmute yourself and speak so that you can, can clarify any faults. And at the end of the meeting, we'll have time to ask questions. We'll be discussing on winning fully funded international master's and PhD scholarships. And the focus is not just on how you apply, but how you submit a compelling application such that the selection committee or whoever is screening the applications will know that your application stands out and will distinguish you and give you that extra edge you need. So we'll be talking about winning fully funded master's and PhD scholarships. I'm speaking from my room here in Middlesbrough, England. So first of all, I would like us to talk about the importance of an international postgraduate degree. The importance of having an international postgraduate degree. Number one is that it opens you, up to the world. It opens your world view, your perspective about what the world is and then how the world actually functions. A lot of things that I've never knew, coming here to UK has really exposed me to them and has given me a better understanding about how the world operates. It makes you know that the world is far, far beyond what you think. It's so wide and it's so open, and you meet a lot of things that you have never met before and learn from different people. And number two, it makes you things from a global perspective. It makes you see things from a global perspective that's beyond the limitations of your immediate environment. Like coming from Nigeria, there are things that I'm used to in Nigeria. When I came here, they were not what they were. They were completely different, Initially, when I came, I was feeling as if I came from a village, like a village boy coming to a city. I was like, wow, this is an entirely different world. We are living in an entirely different world back there in Nigeria. So it opened me up to the global pedestal because this place is a global hotspot. People all around the world are coming to find people from Europe, from Asia, from the Americas, from Africa, all over. Even from some countries from West Africans, I've met people from Ghana, to places like that, Uganda. And it connects you to, that relationships. But here in the UK, you have relationships with your tutors, your supervisors, the lecturers here, and that relationship can later pay you, whether in advancing your career or getting access to opportunities. Another, it makes you see things differently. You become more critical and analytical in your thoughts. You don't just accept things by their face value. You try to turn them over and see what does it actually means, what does it have to offer. Things, but they say don't judge a book by its cover. So that perspective.
Thank you, sir.
Please mute if you are coming in, please mute yourself so that you won't distract. Mute yourself. Infinix X5 flight, please. Can you kindly mute yourself?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so that you won't interrupt the. Yeah, mute yourself. Okay, so.
Yes.
It gives you that extra edge that you need. And then it improves your writing skills. After giving that analytical and critical thinking, it improves your writing skills. Talk about academic style writing and publishing. At undergraduate level, your writing level is not enough for publication. It does not meet the standard for publication. But having a master's degree, you should be able, by the end of your master's degree, one of the things you should achieve is to be able to write at the M7, at level 7. At level 7 is the level where what you write can actually be published in a journal. So by the end of your postgraduate degree, you should be able to write in a level where it can be published, accepted by a journal for publication. So academic writing style, most of what we write in the undergraduate program is much of descriptive, Here you have to be so critical and analytical and try to see things from different angles, both to criticize this and then show the strengths and weaknesses, compare and contrast, and see the limitations of your subject of discussion. And then it exposes you to a different academic system. The truth is that the academic system here is entirely different. In fact, I've never imagined that things can be made as easy as they are being made here. A lot of things that we do in Nigeria, they are just making things so hard for ourselves. This thing can be simplified and then you enjoy it, and then it's even a better academic system. For instance, now, schools are closed, but academic activities is still on, and it's hardly affects the school calendar. I think my school just extended their academic calendar by just a week, because everything, and that week that they extended was the week they used to, to change from that transition from the brick and mortar classroom and transfer the learning online. I submitted my last assessment online, and it has been marked. All my assessments have been marked already. All I'm having now is just my project, which I have to submit the first week of October. And then finally, it improves your job prospect, especially those intending to venture into the research or academia. You want to venture into research or academia, having an international postgraduate degree give you that prestige, give you that, exposure, and then everyone wants to employ someone that really knows what he's doing. So by the end of your studies, you should have something in grasp that should distinguish you from every other person. So I'm going to give some differences between the postgraduate studies in the UK and in the US. And I'm concentrating on the UK and the US because they are the two major places where the academic systems are way ahead of a lot of places. But what I'll be saying today can be applied in almost every other country apart from the UK and the US. The differences are not much. So what I'll be saying, I'll be concentrating on the UK and the US, but what I'll be saying can virtually be applied in other places like Australia, China, other European countries, can actually be applied. But I'm concentrating on these two countries because they are like leading the way in research, in academics, and having some of the best schools in the world. So the differences between postgraduate studies in the UK and in the US, you need to understand this so that when you are putting out an application, you know what you are really doing. You are not just sending application, indiscriminately, just sending it anywhere. You actually know what you want, and you are sending an application. Because the time it takes to send an application is something you don't want to waste. So in the United Kingdom, we have some of the best schools in the world, like some of the top universities in the world, like Cambridge University, Oxford, University of Manchester, Edinburgh, King's College London, and London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. These are some of the top best schools in the world, like top 50 schools in the whole world. These are some of them. So they have some of the best academic institutions in the world. And for the study duration in the UK, a master's is between 1 to 2 years, but mostly their master's is within a year. But that 1 year is actually one rigorous year. It's full of a lot. It's not that you are just doing 1 year, just whiling away time. That 1 year is like a condensed year. You do a lot of work within that 1 year, 1 to 2 years, but mostly 1 year. And their PhD is between 3 to 4 years. That is in the UK. And the reason why that PhD is not as long is because there may not be preliminary courses before commencing your PhD. When you are putting in an application, you must have a solid research proposal that you present before putting your application. And then when they feel that they have a supervisor that can supervise that nature of research, they give you the admission, and you begin your research maybe immediately, almost immediately, you get your admission. That is the UK system for you. So it's a fast system. Masters 1 year mostly, and then PhD 3 to 4 years. So within 5 years, you are done with masters and PhD in the UK. So they have a very fast system, and the system encourages independent learning with minimal supervision. They don't want to like always be checking on you, but they will that give you that space, to learn what you need to learn and to achieve what you need to achieve. So their system comes with a kind of minimal supervision and allows you to learn independently. But in the United States, they have many of the best schools in the world, as you know, and the research institutions like Harvard University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Princeton University, California Institute of Technology, New York universities. Some of the best schools in the world, among the top 100 schools in the world, about nothing less than 50 is in the UK, about 50 is in the US rather. About 50 is in the US. So they have many of the best schools in the world, and their study duration for masters is mostly 2 years. Except for specialized masters, most of their masters is 2 years. And for their PhD is 4 to 6 years, minimum of 4 years, and a maximum of 6 years. So you can see the difference. Most in the UK, masters is mostly 1 year, while in the US, masters is mostly 2 years. In the UK, PhD 3 to 4 years. In the US, 4 to 6 years. So where the UK is stopping, that's where the UN. So that's where the US is starting. So their academic system is somehow prolonged. And one of the reasons is because there are usually foundational courses before you move into full research, which depends on the mode of entry, whether you enter with a bachelor's or with a master's degree. US can admit you for PhD with a bachelor's degree, and they can also admit you with a PhD with a master's degree, especially if you have Theophilus, mute your phone. Theophilus, mute your. There is a mute device, something like a symbol of mute, like a mic. Press it and mute it. Theophilus, you're a little bit distracting. That interruption. If you know you're on mute, you can unmute yourself later and ask questions. But for now, mute yourself so that it can be clear. So in the US, they can admit you with a master's degree and with a bachelor's degree for PhD, because they don't usually require proposal. You can come and do your foundational courses before you start your research in full. And then research in US can actually be deep and rigorous. Differences between getting an admission in the UK and in the US. When you hear me say UK, I mean United Kingdom. And when I say US, I mean United States. In the United Kingdom, getting a postgraduate admission is not hard. It's actually very easy to get admission in the UK, because admissions rarely come with funding as one package. They rarely give you admission and funding as one package. Therefore, you must submit a separate application for funding, either to the school you're applying for, if they have specialized scholarships, or to other funding bodies after obtaining your admission. Funding bodies like Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, or any scholarship commission in your own country, or any other sponsor. And some schools also have scholarships and funding. Some of them are partial funding. Some of them are full funding. Some will pay just for your tuition. So you have to pay for every other thing, like your living expenses, your visa, your monthly rent, money you pay for your accommodation. You have to pay it yourself. So UK hardly gives you, they hardly give you admission with funding. Usually you have the admission without the funding. I'm having a little distraction. I have to mute some people. Some interference. To meet some people, okay? So in the UK, you have admission. It's very easy to get the admission because it doesn't come with funding. So you have to look for the funding themselves. I applied and I got the admission, and I have to submit a separate application to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission for funding before I was able to get the funding. An application usually is on a rolling basis. That means they accept application almost all the time, but it usually closes by August because their academic year starts by September, October. So application usually closes by August in the UK. In the United States, admission is very competitive in the United States, mainly because admission often comes with a partial or full funding. So you can see the differences. UK can easily give you admission because they are not providing any funding most times. But in the US, getting an admission is very, very competitive because most times they come with funding, either a partial funding or a full funding. So there is no need for you to submit a separate application for funding in the US. You just submit one application, and then that application covers for your admission and for your funding. So when your funding, your admission letter is coming, it comes out with sponsorship, like award letter, funding letter. That is for the United States for you. So it's a very competitive system. And then application for admission usually open middle of August and closes by early December. So if you are applying, against fall, that season they call it fall, you should prepare application around and then submit it between August and December. And then we'll move to the next slide. The next slide is the requirements for admission in the UK and in the US. In the United Kingdom, these are the requirements you need. Sometimes people say that I want to study abroad, but by their body language and by the things you can observe, you can easily conclude that they may not be ready for studying abroad. Because if you ask them, do you have an international passport? Some don't even know what an international passport. You can't even differentiate between a visa and an international passport. You don't have an international passport. You don't, some of these basic things you need. So there are some requirements that are needed for you to submit applications in the United Kingdom. Number one is an official undergraduate transcript. Transcript from the university. Official one, not the one they give you after every semester in school and then you gather it and submit. No. At the end of your study, you should be given a transcript, or you apply for a transcript if you have not been given. Official transcript signed and stamped by the relevant people so that you can scan them and upload them when you are submitting your application in the UK. And you have a personal statement. A personal statement, as the name implies, is just about yourself. You talk about yourself, your background, maybe some challenges you overcame, your academic history, what is your academic background, and then you talk about your goals, your objective for pursuing that degree, postgraduate degree. Why do you want to study? If it's a research, you may state your research interest. What do you want to research about? Just give a general overview of what you want to research about. You don't need to go so deep when you are writing a personal statement, because you don't need to say everything during writing your personal statement. So you give a brief background about yourself and your academic history and your work history, work experience, and then your aim and objectives, what you want to achieve. That's basically your personal statement. And then 2 to 3 reference letters submitted by either your lecturer or someone you have worked with, maybe your boss. And he can write the reference letter and you scan it, and some schools accept. But sometimes some schools will demand that the letters be submitted to them from the official email of the referee. That means the person has to forward it on your behalf. Usually when you submit the application, they will notify the person, because you give the email address of the person, they will notify him to submit the reference on your behalf. And it should be an official email address, not a private email address. A private email address are addresses that end with Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo Mail, all those ones that anybody can have. An official email ends with the institution domain. For example, in Nigeria, if it's an educational institution, it will be at edu.ng, as an educational institution. If it's an organization, it will be like .org. If it's an international organization, it may be .int, that is .international. So instead of sending it from an email that ends with Gmail, Hotmail, those are not official emails, those are private emails. You send it from an official email. That gives you that credibility. I must submit a comprehensive CV. A lot of times when you talk about CV, people will just compile anything and it has to be comprehensive. There's a standard written CV. That's another discussion. So CV should be comprehensive, should be well arranged, highlighting the relevant things, your accomplishments. First of all, you give your name, your address, email, phone number, linking address, and then the summary of your profile. And then you give your work experiences and your achievements and your educational history. And then you can also give your honors and awards if you have some honors. If you have a publication, if you're privileged to publish anything, you can give reference to those publications. And then your original degree certificate, not statement of result, original degree certificate. And they also ask you for English language qualification. And there are 3 types of ways you can submit an English language qualification. Either writing one of the English language qualification examination. There are 2 of them, either TOEFL. TOEFL is administered by the United States and IELTS is administered by the British Council. So they are the 2 most recognized English language examination. TOEFL is a test of English as a foreign language. IELTS is International English Language Testing Service. Or the third option is to submit a letter of proficiency in English from your institution. Your institution will send a letter of introduction stating that your degree was taught in English language. So they'll accept that as a means of English language qualification. And if you're applying for a PhD in the UK, you usually submit a research proposal. You can go online and browse about what the research proposal is. And then a writing sample also, maybe you have a published work or an assessment. It can also be asked in the UK for PhD. And sometimes they may ask you for application fee, you pay, and also an interview, mostly for PhD. They'll organize an interview and they give you a date and a time, and then you'll be called for the interview. And in the United States, the requirements are your official undergraduate transcript and your certificate to be evaluated by WES. WES is the World Educational Service. Sometimes the institution may not accept your official transcript and certificate from you. They'll ask your school to send them your transcript themselves, or to send it to WES. WES is the World Educational Service. So when they send it to the WES will evaluate it. Like in Nigeria, we use a 5-point system. In the US, it's a 4-point system. So the WES will evaluate it and convert it from a 5-point scale to a 4-point scale so that it fits the US system. And then they'll send it to your institution, which you pay for. That means the institution you're applying for. And sometimes the institution will just accept it from your university you graduated from, without WES evaluation. And then you give a statement of purpose. Statement of purpose is similar to personal statement. The differences are not much. It's similar to personal statement, just stating your objectives and your background, what you really want to do. And then they also ask for English language qualification, either TOEFL, IELTS, or letter of proficiency. Some schools will say if you do your degree from an English language speaking country, they may list the countries. If Nigeria is part of it, you may not need to submit. And then for US, there is a general exam you write for postgraduate study. It's called graduate record examination, which is like the most difficult part of it, because you need to prepare for it. You need at least 3 months to prepare for it. And you pay like nothing less than 80,000 naira to, I think, for writing. Graduate record examination is a test of verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing. So they evaluate you, and then you'll be given a score between, I think, between 260 to 340. The maximum is 340. So there is a scale. So you write the exam, If you get a high score, it increases your chances. The fact is that if you come with a good undergraduate degree, like 2.1 and above, a good GRE score, you package all your documents, it will be difficult for you not to get an admission. And usually in United States, if the admission comes, it usually comes with funding. You don't need to submit any application like the UK, which I did. You don't need to submit application for funding. If you just pay for these things, write this examination, prepare for them, pass them very well. If your admission is coming, it will just come with your funding. All you do is just to do your visa, pay for your visa and your flight ticket. That's all. And the funding simply means it will cover your tuition, it will cover your monthly allowance, your health insurance. Some people will pay you as high as $3,000 a month for your upkeep. Some schools may even give you a laptop when you are enrolling. You don't need to pay for anything, but it's very competitive. That's just a fact in the US. It's very, very competitive. And that graduate record examination is a major thing that is sending a lot of people away from the US, because it's like a general examination, standard examination to assess your abilities. And then you submit a CV, a standard comprehensive CV, and if you have a writing sample, you submit. Usually, US will not ask you for research proposal like the UK. You don't need a research proposal for a PhD application. The research proposal, PhD is a research degree, not a third master's. Master's is a third. You don't have time to do much research for master's, just little. But in the UK, in PhD, you have enough time to do your research. So in the UK, we'll ask you to come with your research proposal. If they feel they can supervise it, they will give you admission. If they can't supervise it, they will reject it. They say they won't accept it. They have no one that will supervise that work. Then you have a writing sample, and then 2 to 3 reference letters I've said from an official email, not anyhow email, an official email address, not Gmail, not Hotmail, not Yahoo Mail. That means you have to have a contact either from your school, a lecturer, or from an organization that can submit a reference letter. Reference letter is a very important thing when you're submitting an application. And ensure that the person knows you very well. You should not just write a general thing. You should write about you in depth, because they respect the reference letter a lot. What is being said about you, that's reference letter. So you shouldn't just choose anybody to send a reference letter for you. It should be someone that you know that can write very well about you. Not someone that will just write 3 lines or 4 lines and submit. No. You should go in depth and say a lot of good things about you if possible, excellent things about you. It increases your chances, puts you ahead. So if you have a good result, 2.1 above, good IELTS score or TOEFL score, good GRE score, and then put your personal statement or your statement of purpose in order, a good CV. If you have a critical writing skill, not the descriptive that they taught us in undergraduate, it gives you that edge, and then puts you ahead of others, because it's very competitive, especially if you're considering sending an application in the United States. So if there's any question now, you can unmute yourself and ask question, or if you don't want to speak, you can just type it in the chat box. But I will try and upload the slide I just presented. I'll upload it on the chat box for anyone that wants to download. I just uploaded it, so you can download it. It should be accessible to everyone. Later on, you can go through it, because you may not have time to write when I was speaking. So if you have questions, you can ask, or you can type in the chat box. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. If you have question, you can unmute yourself, please. This is question and answer time. The unmute button is a button that looks like a microphone. You just press it to unmute, and then you can speak. Okay, someone asked, Mary Oluwatobi, she said, what English test is better or preferable, please? You can write either of the IELTS or TOEFL. If you're coming to the UK, you know, UK, they are the one that administer the IELTS, you know, it's administered by the British Council. So if you're going for the UK, if you're considering coming to the UK, I'll advise you go for IELTS. But if you are thinking of going to the US, you should go for TOEFL. But that doesn't mean that if you take IELTS, it won't be accepted in the US or if you take TOEFL, it won't be accepted in the UK. They accept it, although some schools will specify, very few schools will specify that it has to be this or that. But most times, any of the two will work, either IELTS or TOEFL, depending on what your choice is. Okay, Rukwaya Abdusalam said, thanks for your presentation. It's been informative. Please, can you elaborate on what a good presentation, a good personal statement contains? And can I elaborate on what a good personal statement contains? A personal statement, I have said, is a statement about yourself. That means that there will be a lot of I in the statement. You write it in the first person about yourself, you know, and most times it's between 500 to 1,000 words. But if you have like 800 words, it's fine. And what you do in the personal statement is to introduce yourself, right? Your background, academic background, your work experience, research experience, if you have undertaken a research, and then your objectives, aim and objective for pursuing that postgraduate degree. Why do you want to pursue that postgraduate degree? What impact do you feel you create by pursuing that postgraduate degree? That's what your personal statement. They want to know why, not that I just want to be in the university. Why do you want to be in the university? That's what they want to know, the personal statement. It's different from a research proposal. In a research proposal, which is required for PhD in the UK, you go in depth into what research you're going to do. You can go online and search for research proposal in the UK and read about it. But for personal statement, you should be straight to the point. Tell us about yourself, your academic background, your work experience, research experience, your aim and objectives for undertaking that degree. What do you want to achieve? What impact do you want to create after your study? What research you want to undertake? Just a general overview. Not going, if you want to go in depth, you do that in your research proposal for PhD. Personal statement, something very easy. I feel that if within a day, you can write it and maybe revise it within 3 days, maybe editing it until you have something presentable. And someone asks, do schools in UK defer admission upon request for next academic year? Yes. Many schools in UK defer admission until the next academic year. What is the age? Lukman asks, what is the age limit for application to master's or PhD in either the UK or US? There is no age limit. That's just the fact. There is no age limit. But if you are going for a PhD, especially in the US, they tend to look at your age because they know that their PhD is somehow prolonged. I told you the minimum you can spend is 4 years in the US.
They finished.
Minimum of 4 years in the US. And then between 4 to 6 years. But there are people that have stayed more than that. If you are not someone that work very hard, because it's a very rigorous process. You can spend 7 years, 8 years, if you are not able to come to the conclusion of your work and make something presentable.
Okay.
So please, let's have less people that are just joining us, please mute yourself so that there won't be too much interference. So they tend to look at your age. Most times they look at age. You shouldn't be more than 30 or let's say 35. shouldn't be more than 30 to 35, because 4 to 6 years is a long period of time. If you are too old, by the time you are done, you know, they feel that your impact will not be felt like someone that is young. If you are going to academia, you have a longer duration to work and then to benefit the society better than someone that is old. But if you are sponsoring yourself, you can go at any age. But assessing opportunities, they tend to look at your age. You know, which one has better prospect that he can finish on time and a large portion of his life is still available for him to really impact the academic environment, impact his community. So I'll advise that if you're submitting an application, shouldn't be more than 35 years, but 30 is okay. If you are less than 30, it's even better. So Mubarak wants to ask a question. I can see you raising your hand. Mubarak. And then Tingriman.
Hello, thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for your wonderful presentation.
Be brief
It's
because we have just 2 minutes.
For me
Yeah.
to-
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Be brief.
Okay, let me
Our
just
time
type
is up.
it.
Yeah.
Let me just type it.
You want to type it?
Let me-
Okay, type it. Tingriman was asking about reference letter. Must it be your project supervisor while in school? Because mine was on sabbatical and his official email won't be. It mustn't be your project supervisor. I didn't say it must be your project supervisor. It can be any lecturer in the school that knows you and you feel that he can write about you. It mustn't be your project supervisor. It mustn't be your project. My project supervisor send an email, send a reference on my behalf, and another lecturer that is not my project supervisor had also send a reference letter on my behalf. Sometimes they'll ask you to write it yourself and give it to them because you know yourself more than anybody. So you will have opportunity to write reference letter for yourself and send to them, and then they'll send it on your behalf. So it mustn't be your reference, your supervisor. It can be anybody that knows you. Mary say, can you as well take? No, I don't know this one. I said either TOEFL or IELTS. I don't know what of TOEIC. Just take any of these two. And then finally, application for international student. Application is still on. You can still apply. In fact, some schools in the US are even modifying the application and telling you that you can submit without GRE. Some schools are saying you can submit without GRE, but not all schools. So I still advise you to have those competency examinations. Don't feel as if because of the pandemic, they'll be reducing some requirements. Still have all your requirements, but I feel because of the pandemic, some school may lift some requirements, like if they feel that because of the pandemic, you may not be able to supply the requirement. For example, maybe GRE. Some days back or some week ago, I went to a website of a school in the US that was about to receive application for a program. It's a master's program. They were saying that even without GRE, you accept it because they understand the current situation. Okay, the GRE examination, yes. This GRE examination lasts for up to 5 years, and the English language examination lasts for only 2 years. So if you are going for TOEFL or IELTS, it lasts for 2 years. After 2 years, it expires. But for GRE, it lasts for 5 years. So if you take your time and write it, you can be submitting application if you like for the next 5 years. But just pray that your first application works, but it doesn't expire. So if you take your time and write it well, you can use it for 5 years. That means if I write in 2020, I can be submitting application until 2025. That is it. 2024, 2025, I can still be submitting applications. So 5 years from the day you have written the GRE examination, because the GRE gives you the results. Most of the result comes out the day you write it. Immediately you finish writing it to give your results. There are 3 parts in the GRE: the verbal and quantitative reasoning and the analytical writing. Immediately you're done. It's a computer-based exam. So the two parts, the quant and the verbal, you see your score immediately, you're done. But the analytical writing, is something subjective. Someone has to sit down and mark that one because it's writing. The computer cannot really mark writing. So the IELTS and the TOEFL, which are the English language qualification, they expire after 2 years, which is short. But for the GRE, you can use it for up to 5 years. Okay, it's good you have your transcript, Mary. It's good you have your transcript. But some schools, after submitting it, especially in the US, they will still require, when you get the admission, especially, when you get the admission, before you register, they will require that your school submits your transcript. So it's good you get your transcript. Please, I will advise anyone that if you don't have your official transcript, try and get it. But because it helps in the application process. Some schools will give you admission and you even register without asking for transcript from your school. Others, especially in the US, they may accept it from you, but when it's time to register, your school must submit directly to them. So have your copy, and when it's being required, you can apply to your school to send. But having your copy is very important. Which question do we have again? Oh, Mubarak, what are your questions? I'm here to see your questions, Mubarak. Mubarak, I can't see your question. So application is still going on in spite of the pandemic. But I've uploaded a slide so you can view the slide, and I will drop by email. If you have any question, you can send it to my email, or if you have my WhatsApp number, you can send it through my WhatsApp number. So I've just dropped my email to everyone in the meeting. To everyone. So I've just dropped my email. In case you have a question, you can chat me up and I'll answer you. Okay. It's our reference. Did you say it can be sent through their personal email? No, reference cannot be sent through a personal email. I say from official email. But some schools in the UK accept from personal email. But I'll advise you to go for official email that ends with an official address.
Okay,
The right
sorry.
time, yeah.
Okay, you mean, let me say, a person writing for you cannot send through his own email?
He can send through his email, official email, his own official email. He can send it through his own official email.
Oh.
Yeah. It's good to have, Mubarak, it's good to have your requirements before sending your applications. But some schools can give you conditional admission, especially in the UK, because they don't come with funding, right? But in the US, if you don't have the requirements, you won't get the admission. So it's good to have your requirement. Okay. To start your application, you can start your application as soon as possible, the moment the application opens. In the UK, it opens, it's on the rolling basis, so you can submit at any time, but most times it closes before August. So this is the right time for you to submit in the UK. But in the US, it opens usually by the middle of August and closes early September. And these are the time that you submit application that will give you high chances to get as a funding. If you submit at any time, you may not be able to get that funding that you need, because funding is very important, especially if you are going for postgraduate study like PhD. It's a very long duration, 6 years. You can't be saying that you'll be working and studying, because PhD may be so engaging that you don't have time to work. Like this master's in the UK, when I came, I was thinking that I'll have enough time to go and work, blah, blah, blah. But it's so engaging that 1 year is just chocked with a lot of stuff that you don't have too much time to waste. Is there any other question, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hope you can
Yes, sir.
you can access the slide. Can you access the slide I sent?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah. Ask your question.
Concerning the email, if I'm applying as a person, do I also have to have an official email, or I can use personal email?
No, for you, if you apply, you can use your personal email, private email. You can use it. But I mean, for someone submitting a reference letter for you,
Okay.
sometimes they will insist. Sometimes they can tell you that no, you can submit it. So far, some schools in the UK even accept it from you, so he can write it and give it to you. You understand?
Right. Thank
He can
you, sir.
write it and
Yes, sir.
give it to you. In some schools in the UK, but in the
Okay.
US, most times you have to give his email during your application, and when you submit it, they will notify him to send a reference letter on your behalf through that email. That has to be an official email, right? Not a personal email.
Yes, sir.
But
Thank
for
you, sir.
yourself, you can use a personal email for your application. There is no problem with that. And someone is telling me that he can't access
Thank
the
you.
file. Let me send it again.
Yeah, I can't access the file. And I wasn't through the meeting, sorry.
Okay, I'm resending it again
Hello?
to everyone. I just resend it
Okay.
again to everyone. Check the chat, the group chat, where you're typing the question. I just resent it. PowerPoint from me, David. It's about 473 KB. If there's any question, your application, Mubarak, if you're submitting an application in the UK, application usually within a month, you should have a decision on your application. But in the US, it can take as long as 3 months. Yeah. In the US, if you submit an application this year, you can't resume to school this year. It has to be next year. But in the UK, they have a very fast system. Both their educational system and application. You can submit application today, and by next week, you have your admission. And then by September, you are in the UK. But in the US, any application you submit for master's or PhD definitely is against next year, not this year. That's the US system for you. They have this kind of system that takes its time, to do stuffs. Even their education, as I've stated in the slide, their PhD is between 4 to 6 years. Where for UK is 3 to 4 years. Any other question?
Hi, David, please, I can't see the file you sent in the chat box.
Wow, I resend it. What's the problem? I send it to everyone. Check the group chat, the PowerPoint.
The chat
Is everybody
box.
facing the problem?
I think David,
Yeah.
you should send it to her personal mail because we've seen it more than once or twice.
Have you seen
Hello?
the PowerPoint?
No, it's not dropping.
Oh, I don't know what's wrong.
Hello, David.
Yeah,
Hello.
I can hear you, Samuel.
I think you should send it to their personal mail because I've seen this document more than once and I've downloaded it
Okay, Samuel, you have downloaded yours, right?
long ago.
Yeah, some people are accessing it. I don't know why they can't access it. But if you can't access it, if you have my contacts, you can send me don't send me your email here because it should be private. I just share my own so that you people have access. You can send me an email through my email and I'll respond to you through my email. I've sent my email, right? Just send me an email through my email that you have not accessed the document and I will respond to you. And when responding, I'll attach the file, right? Is that okay?
Yes.
Are you okay with that, Blessing and Tinya?
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
You can send me your complaint through my email and I'll reply with the file. If you have not accessed it. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you have any question, you can please ask so that I will clarify you. Mubarak, have I clarified your questions? Mubarak.
Yes, Chief. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. If there's any question, please. If not, we'll end the meeting. If you have any question.
I
Or
really
you can still
appreciate.
drop me an email if you still have a question. Maybe later you can drop me an email. But if there is no question, maybe will just stop the meeting and then. That's all. So no question. No question, right? Okay. So thank you for joining the meeting, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
This man wants to.